And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho. Starting things out looking at the sun here from the Smash bunker. It's the colorized magnetogram showing us a sunspot has suddenly formed once again up here in the northwest. By the end of the video, we'll update. This one that we reported on yesterday evaporated as quickly as it formed. And we see some other areas of magnetic organization here and here. So some activity on the sun. We see a weak coronal hole wind stream striking right now. And you can see some ombre forming right at the end of the video, right in this area right here. Right there you can see those ombre quickly forming. And we'll see if that gets named a sunspot. It needs to have 12 hours or more of umbra to get named. And let's take a look at some more views here. Here's the 171 angstroms view. And you can see some filamentary activity here. We don't see any coronal mass ejections, at least in the Earth-facing vicinity. By the way, helioviewer.org is down. If you want to find out if your favorite website's down, check out isitdownrightnow.com. Just put in the URL you're looking for, and you'll find that HelioViewer is not functioning. 10.7 centimeter radial flux currently at 69, and there's the 3.5-year chart of that coming out of the solar minimum between cycle 24 and 25. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance and cycle 25. KP index, a global measurement of geomagnetism, is currently at 3, kicked up by some coronal hole wind stream, and we see a small bit of flaring associated with that sunspot most likely. We'll look at it in 94 angstroms at the end of the video. No big proton events happening, and let's look at the real-time solar wind. The phi angle has recently shifted, as well as the solar wind speed and density. It looks like a small coronal mass ejection strike here, as you see the solar wind speed and density ramping up at the same time over the past 3 hours. Current solar wind density around 9 protons per cubic centimeter. Current solar wind speed 343 kilometers a second. Let's see how it affects the geospace. Here's 4 hours of data. A visualization of the magnetosphere. We've seen the electron flux levels dip, but we still do see multiple double layers forming here. Multiple plasma spheres on the sun side, there and out here. As again, there are a lot of electrons out there, but not quite as many as we have had. Let's check ground magnetic perturbations during this polar excursion. And we see actually lots of magnetism here. Lots of global magnetism. You can see all those blobs around the equatorial regions. That's pretty anomalous there, folks. So some significant magnetic perturbations here. You see those pulses out of the Pacific Ocean that we typically see around the equinoxes as we approach autumn and spring in the southern hemisphere, autumn in the northern hemisphere. We'll let that play through again a second time here, as it's showing quite a bit of data. And you can see evidence that the south geomagnetic pole is actually down here someplace. And we've got 2 north poles, one up here and one over here, making the net pole someplace over here. We still see some power outages, and Louisiana is just about to get hit again. If you're being told to evacuate that area, please do. It's going to be a mess. We'll show you the forecast a little later. We see some weak magnetometer readings here, and we may be snapping back and forth between the polarity of different current sheets. It looks like the kind of a thing that you would see there. And for you new viewers, remember that this is the midnight and noon local time for the GOES-16 satellite. Next, looking at the Gong 2 data, it's the top view ecliptic plane field plot. And it looks like perhaps South Pole current sheet still, as it was yesterday. And this snapping across, you see, we don't see a field force line for the Earth here. You see these orange lines? That's stereo B's field force line. Here's stereo A's potential field force line. The Earth doesn't have one, which means the magnetometers don't know which current sheet we're in. I would say we're in the south, as I did yesterday, but we may be snapping back and forth. And in the event that we continue to do that, you're going to continue to see these up and down readings, despite normally you would see a smooth curve if you're in a solid current sheet. You'd see a weak reading, then a stronger reading, and then a weaker reading, and then a stronger reading. So there's the last frame of that. Keep in mind the data is 1 hour and 2 minutes old. We don't see any major perturbations in the B field shown here in blue. No big changes happening there. Here's the coronal hole magnetic field force plot. And you can see the North Pole coronal hole area is looking very large and very in charge. So there's a bit of a tug of war going on. And just keep in mind this is showing you coronal hole potential field force lines in purple, closed potential field force lines in pink, and open potential field force lines in black. And welcome to another Smash Lights. This one will be pretty truncated. Do you follow us on Twitter? Well, we're on Twitter. And listen to what empty suit bureaucrat No Malarkey Joe has just said. Weapons of war have no place in our communities. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Wow. Well, you know what I think? I think guys who need a teleprompter to answer a question have no place in office. Let's talk about photosynthesis. Now, this is an argument we were having about a stupid, idiotic climate change tweet. And somebody who doesn't understand cellular respiration argued about plants. And I guess a little known fact is that plants use CO2 and emit oxygen during photosynthesis to make glucose. Guess what they do after they make the glucose? They burn the glucose through a process called cellular respiration, where they use oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. So if you didn't know, if you thought all plants just sponge up carbon dioxide and just spew out oxygen all the time, think again. Just like you, plants must perform cellular respiration for energy. The photosynthesis is an effort to create fuel called glucose. So yeah, plants aren't just sinks for carbon dioxide, they also exhale carbon dioxide when they perform cellular respiration after they consume the glucose they made through the photosynthesis process. If you want to see more brilliant tweets like this, we're at 1,717 tweets. Check out twitter.com/smAsho. Has anybody vetted Freedom Scientific's most popular screen reader software for the blind, JAWS? Not the fish jaws, a different JAWS. We're going to have to vet this ourselves, I guess. So if you know anything about Freedom Scientific's most popular screen reader for the blind, let us know in the comments. By the way, we're streaming live to Twitch right now, and we just love the platform so much that we like to stream to Twitch because it's just very, very good platform, and it performs great. It's got all kinds of features that we like. Twitch.tv/smAsho. Thanks to our followers over there. We're also on YouTube. Thanks to our viewers of the live premiere events. If you enjoy the content, please press like and subscribe on YouTube. Don't worry, we'll wait. By the way, we've got playlists, and our latest playlist is called Scrying with Smash, where I gaze into a crystal ball, and I talk about whatever I want, similar to the Smash Lights segment, except I'm forecasting the future. Somewhat. Yes, scrying. If you're not familiar with scrying, scrying is when you do things like look into a crystal ball or a crystal geode, or, you know, you've got a psychomantium and where you sit in a dark room facing a mirror and you try to summon demons, or you use a Ouija board or whatever. Scrying, if you're not familiar with it. There's a great Wikipedia article about it. By the way, it includes all forms of divination and fortune telling, whether or not Whether you're viewing the future via tarot cards or playing cards, or whether you're looking at the cream in your coffee or your tea leaves to try to figure out what's going on, it's called scrying, yes. It's basically black magic, and the Scrying with smAsho series is basically a parody of scrying. Let's talk about the COVID, since it's so scary and spooky. I'm so scared and spooked that I'm just going to leave it above my head right now. So, COVID, since you're so undeadly, I'm just gonna leave you there. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I guess that doesn't narrow it down. By the way, Trump has signed an executive order yesterday creating favored nation status for the U.S. So Trump tweeted Sunday, "Just signed a new executive order to lower drug prices. My most favored nation order will ensure that our country gets paid the same low price Big Pharma gives to other countries. The days of global free riding at America's expense are over. The prices are coming down fast. Also just ended all rebates to middlemen and further reducing prices." Okay. In other words, the cheap Chinese virus, the virus from China, has caused all kinds of things to happen. And the favored nation status, reported here by Newsmax. Yes, an executive order yesterday. Now, it'll take a long time for this to get implemented, because what will happen is drug prices will push back against it. And I don't know where I was going with this, but there are a lot of YouTube pages, websites, news sources, governments, and corporations who purport to care about your health, when in fact what they're doing with their mask mandates and lockdowns is that they are trying to cover their own anatomy. It's a CYA attempt. Meanwhile, governors and other government officials do utterly corrupt things and have zero accountability, because accountability for thee, not for me, said every bureaucrat in history. For you can... See how easy that is? Don't listen to people who purport things that aren't true. Have some discernment. Unlike Dr. Fauci. Now, Dr. Fauci has flip-flopped more than Foot Locker. Oh no, cases are growing in 11 states as Fauci warns of disturbing data. What a hack. It makes me want to sing, "Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up." Oh, look, a bicycle rider looking like a total COVIDiot riding a bike while wearing a mask. How stupid is that? Let's talk about how stupid it is. Here's your Florida cases versus deaths. Wow, that looks very scary, doesn't it? Oh my God. Look at all the cases, except the deaths aren't rising. Why? It's called herd immunity. Let's not even continue on that route. And move on to some more stuff. Have you noticed your freedoms being eroded since 9/11? Well, one of the things you're free to do is head to smAshomash.com/forum. Why? Because we've got a coronavirus section in the free-for-all section that's gigantic. And here's what we were saying on April 20th, Hitler's birthday, by the way. This is where the world is on the corona curve. Over the hump. Yeah. By 419, after weeks of climbing the scary, spooky corona curve, which, by the way, I stated on January 23rd that it's not particularly dangerous for healthy people. Have you noticed that I've been right about all kinds of things over and over again? Yeah. Do you think we're undersubscribed on YouTube? By the way, congrats to Tony Heller for having 500,000 views on his YouTube channel in the past couple of days, over the weekend, I guess. And I think he's at 99,000 subscribers over there. Tony Heller. And let's talk cosmology for a very brief moment, as cosmology is quite the rabbit hole, where we consider the sun and the earth formation actually part of cosmology, in that geology and heliophysics are all part of cosmology, because the ideas about what's inside the earth's core and what's inside the earth's mantle are all based on cosmic principles, how the solar system forms, etc. So we like to cover it. Now, yesterday we had an interesting section where we talked about how perhaps hydrogen is alive, or maybe the hydrogen cycle is sort of a life cycle. Maybe the Earth's hydrogen cycle is alive. Maybe clouds and thunderstorms are like thoughts, right? Anyway, watch yesterday's video if you haven't seen that. It's yesterday's daily space weather. You can see it at bitshoot.com and youtube.com/smAsho. Let's look at cosmic rays. Here's the environment at the Apatity Neutron Monitor. Small uptick here over the past 30 days. At Barentsburg, flat over the past 30 days. Let's look at Athens, Greece. Since cosmic rays seem to be a point of contention among those covering space weather, some looking like hacks by saying stuff that's utterly untrue about cosmic rays. Here's Athens, and it's a slight uptick at Athens over the past 30 as well. And we still aren't at the maximum cosmic rays ever measured. That happened around 2010 at the last solar minimum. They never got as high as they were at the last solar minimum at this solar minimum. And that's a good thing, folks, because cosmic rays could have drastic and nearly immediate effects on you for thousands of years nonstop. Small uptick there at Mexico City as well over the past 30. And it still has not reached the point where it was back around 2010. Here are the cosmic rays from the Oulu Neutron Monitor, and you can see its slight uptick here over the past 30 as well. Here's DOMC Antarctica, and its slight uptick there as well over the past 30 days. I won't mention any names about people who are lying to you about cosmic ray flux. Let's talk about cosmology a little more here. We've got an entire forum about cosmology at smAshomash.com/forum. If you just click on forum, click on the cosmology forum, and click on the most, which is one of the pinned topics over there, you'll find this topic. Please feel free to put entries in here if you'd like to put up some information about the most. Here's the most steady X-ray source, the Crab Pulsar. Were you aware? If you'd like to buy a shirt with 3C405 Cygnus A on it, check out smAshomash.org. Today's featured object is located way out in the Cygnus arm. The most intrinsically luminous object visible from Earth. It's the tail of the swan, otherwise known as Deneb. High-mass X-ray binary Wolf-Rayet star with a little friend. An extra massive object with its poloidal jet field pointed right toward you is what's making it so bright, as it siphons plasma off of the Wolf-Rayet star. It's very hot, it's very bright, it's about 10 times as hot. The solar wind is about 10 times as dense, 10 times as fast. And if it were in our solar system, it would be about the size of Mars's orbit. Yes, you'd be inside of it if it were in our solar system. Here are the transients from it, and it looks like it's coming off of its quiescent state. It's back into a more average state, and we're trying to get a radio astronomer to fix a radio telescope on this object before it comes out of its quiescent state so we can watch its cyclicity. Now, it's interesting to see whether it's going to go back into a more quiescent state, as it's been sputtering in the past couple of months. Cygnus X3, one of the most interesting objects in the solar system. And by the way, Göbekli Tepe appears to be oriented towards Cygnus X3, which, by the way, is also the celestial pole star at the, quote, other end of the precessional cycle. Again, check out smAshomash.org if you want to support the content. Please do so via the links there. We've got all the social media. There's PayPal, there's Patreon, there's Subscribestar, all the rest of our social media as well as our IP phone, the smAsho VoIP phone. So check that out all at smAshomash.org. Our affiliate link is there as well. Thanks to our Subscribestars and to our patrons. Patreon is the true source of funding for the content, folks. So we greatly appreciate our patrons. Again, the true source of funding, and I think I've got it. There we go. That's a little better. My head was getting cut off. I've adjusted the camera. Again, please consider becoming a patron if you haven't. It's patreon.com/smAshomash. For our patrons, don't be surprised if you see some more MP3 uploads, whether they're ringtones or perhaps original music from my record label, which I began in about the year 2000. you'd like to see your name appearing in lights, head to patreon.com/smAshomash. You'll receive some information before everybody else, depending on what tier you're in. There's actually 9 tiers there, which we've created mainly for your convenience. If you want to contribute $1 or up to $15, $15 gets you the condensed matter Patreon status. And that's our latest tier, by the way. Thanks again to our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. And here ends another Smash Lights segment. Let's get back to space data. Here's the 1-year chart of the relativistic electron flux, and we're back into a more normal, moderate range here. We still do see some charging hazards, surprisingly over the northern hemisphere there. Kind of odd, it's a little anomalous, as that is nighttime, where those charging hazards are happening. Here's the relativistic electron forecast, and we're expecting a small decrease here once again. You can see the 3-day chart here with the GOES electron flux is showing a fairly cratered electron flux, and perhaps we won't reach back into storm levels today. It should be close. I don't think there's a whole lot of electron flux coming. Let's look at the total electron content forecast here, giving you a visualization of the entire planet. And we do see some electron flux here at nighttime. Not super high. Looks consistent with the rest of the data to me. Next, looking at just one slice of the atmosphere. That was the whole atmosphere from thermosphere to lithosphere. Now we're going just the ionosphere layer. And some rapid charge-ups happening there on the sun side. Let's bring up the latest image. And keep in mind, for you new viewers out there, folks, the sun is going to be located, somewhere around here. A little ahead of the main charge blob. That's looking pretty normal there. Making it up to, it looks like, about 10 megahertz. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. There's where things will be in a week. If you're up before dawn, you may see a brilliant display of Mars and a crescent moon. So perhaps check that out. The second and third brightest objects in the sky, making a close call to each other. We see quite a few earthquakes around the Ring of Fire here. Nothing over a 6 magnitude, some deep quakes. Let's go up the list. It includes a deep quake in the Virgin Islands. It's only a 3.6 magnitude. One of the largest of the past 24 was a 5.1 at Papua New Guinea. And I think one came in once again as I did show prep. It looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. Let's scroll up the list. I did see some deep quakes here, including this one at Indonesia. It's a 5.0 magnitude at 131.3 kilometers depth. Also, we see let me get to that. There's a deep quake at Alaska, nearly 100 kilometers, only a 2.8 magnitude. A very deep quake near Fiji at 4.6 magnitude and 550 kilometers depth. A deep quake in Afghanistan at a 4.0 magnitude, 241 kilometers. Here's an ultra-shallow quake in Washington. Let's go have a look at that, as it could be magmatic activity. There's the location of that quake. And that occurred at a depth of 600 meters above sea level. A depth of negative 0.6 kilometers. And that one that came in while I was doing the show was a 5.0 at the Mariana Islands. Volcano rundown includes Suwanosejima, flight level 6,000 feet there. Flight level 060, 6,000 foot ash plume. Ash plume at Semeru is 13,000 feet. Ash plume at Dacono, 7,000 feet as it explodes. Popocatépetl back on the list. Down there near Mexico City as it explodes, produces a 22,000 foot plume of ash. Sangay explodes. Flight level 240, 24,000 feet. No volcanic ash observed at Revenador. Please don't attempt to pole vault the caldera. And Sabancaya is exploding. It's producing a 23,000 foot plume of ash. Please don't attempt to do a back handspring over the caldera there or tightrope it. We need the views. So we see hard freeze and frost advisories in the northern portion of the country, as well as horrendous flood warnings around the Gulf Coast. Not what you want to see, considering Louisiana's already all jacked up. And here's a tropical tidbits forecast for total accumulated precipitation according to the GFS forecast. And you can see we're forecasting nearly 2 feet. It looks like 2 feet of rain right near New Orleans there. So that's through 1800 Universal Time Wednesday, which is like 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And there you can see the propagation of that system. It did stagnate a little bit, but then it's going to be on the move. It's going to make a precipitous turn to the north. And when I say precipitous, the pun is intentional. Next, looking at the pressure cells. Let's let this advance into tomorrow. It'll give you some idea of where pressure systems are moving. And you can see multiple low pressure systems here in the Atlantic Ocean. There's where things will be at 1 p.m. And this low up here is extremely large and quite low. Look at that. It's the low pressure, 28.65 millibars. So that's a significant low pressure, and it's very large. Next, looking at lightningmaps.org to see where the leading edge of stuff is. Quite a bit of lightning in the Mediterranean. Hey, Catania, there's thunder rolling in. lightningmaps.org. Shout out to our European and African viewers. Here is your water vapor map scenario. Viewers from the Far East and Oceania, here are your water vapor maps. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar. And that system is taking its good old time, as I forecasted yesterday. It's surrounded by some dry air, which is looking like it's dissipating. So here's what's going on. By the way, Bermuda is getting struck right now. You can see that well-defined rotating counterclockwise low pressure system. And I don't know of any viewers from Bermuda. Leave us a comment if you're viewing from Bermuda. We'll show more in-depth stuff. So we've got multiple different systems here. We've got a lower level low and an upper level low in the same place. And there still is some dry air there, I can tell just by looking at the map. We also see some low clouds in these areas. These areas right here. And let's zoom in on that region in water vapor. First, let me check the life of the stream and see if we have any chats. No chats, please leave us a comment if you're viewing on BitChute or on YouTube. And there's a water vapor situation, so we've got some dry air down here, but we pretty much have smooth sailing in this direction, which is where it's going to head. Jet stream not looking like it's interacting very much. Let's animate the full map once again. And there you have the full water vapor map for the U.S. and Caribbean. Next, looking at the jet streams. There are the jets of the western world. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world. And last but not least, don't forget to make Earth not suck again, right? It's up to you. Head to smashamash.org, visit our links. Thanks to the Smash team for tuning in. Please don't forget to share on your social media. Tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros. Science noobs and science pros, we welcome all of you. Thanks for flying American Smashways. I'm your pilot, and I'm going to vanish as I've got to head back to the cockpit. Please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times. We've got a 48-hour video of the SDO's view of the local yellow dwarf in 94 angstroms, as well as a colorized magnetogram. We'll show you umbrae if there are any associated with this possible sunspot, and it certainly looks like a sunspot. Pretty sure there's going to be an umbra there and an umbra there, making it yet another behavior of the cycle 25. Welcome to cycle 25, folks. There are more umbrae. The trailing one is the most significant, but the leading one is a thing. Still, to this point, it's a beta class sunspot. At this moment, will it get named? Well, it'll have to be there for a little longer before that can be. Here's your 94 angstroms view. It's 48 hours worth of activity, and you'll see that brightening in that northwestern region, as well as some in the southeast. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Certainly don't drive. I may be on the road, and I don't want to see you there. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the neo-renaissance. May that solar wind be at your back and that covidiously absent from your locale.